Once displayed on freak show stages as objects of curiosity, Daisy and Violet Hilton were, for a brief moment, embraced through music. Through their performances, they tasted something they had long been denied, affection freely given. And in time, they finally won their freedom from the couple who had controlled and abused them. There was a season when their shows sold out night after night. But as radio and cinema took hold of the world, their fame slowly faded with it. Performance requests stopped coming. Their earnings dried up. Soon they could no longer afford even lodging or travel. Then, in 1961, after finishing what would become their final performance at a drive-in theater in Charlotte, North Carolina, their manager said only, "I'll go settle the accounts," and never returned. The car, the money, the lodging, everything was in his name. That night, the sisters were quite literally abandoned. On a bitter winter evening, they wandered near the theater asking for help. Not a single person reached out. But one pair of hands did offer a blanket. It was not show business that saved them, but an elderly couple from a nearby church. They were welcomed into Purcell United Methodist Church and seated in front of an old iron stove. Slowly, the feeling returned to their frozen hands. They ate a warm meal for the first time in days and slept that night leaning against wooden pews. A few days later, the church pastor gently said, "I hear the supermarket nearby is hiring. Would you be interested in working?" The sisters looked at one another. Daisy nodded carefully. "Yes, we would like to work." The place they were referred to was Park and Shop Supermarket. They went to the manager themselves and said, "We'll work together. You can pay us the wages of just one person." The manager studied them for a moment, then smiled. "If both of you are working, then both of you will be paid." At that simple answer, the sisters could not speak. It was warmer than any applause they had ever received. From that day on, they stood behind the supermarket register each morning. When a customer bought fruit, Daisy wrapped it while Violet pressed the register keys. Sometimes a customer would ask, "Aren't you the sisters who used to perform on stage? Why are you here? Don't you perform anymore?" Violet would smile and reply, "This is our stage now." The glittering lights were gone. In their place stood the quiet rhythm of ordinary work. The music had mostly fallen silent, but longing remained. In the evenings, Violet would draw in a slow breath. "Daisy, someone asked again today when they could hear us play." Daisy would take out their practice instrument for a moment, running her fingers lightly across it. "Do you think we'll ever play in front of an audience again?" Their yearning for music deepened. Sometimes, in private, they would touch their instruments once more, aching to relive those fleeting moments. But reality offered little room for dreams. The stage drifted farther away, and they learned to live behind the supermarket counter. When Christmas came, they baked cookies with their co-workers and exchanged small gifts. It was the most peaceful holiday they had ever known. One co-worker teased them gently, "Violet, Daisy, do you still play the violin?" "My fingers aren't what they used to be," one of them answered softly, "but we'd love to hear you, just once." Daisy hesitated, then brought out the old violin case from home. When she opened it, the room seemed to hold its breath. Her hands trembled. As the bow touched the strings, a thin cloud of dust rose into the air. The first note sounded, quiet, unadorned. It was not as dazzling as before, but within it lived every wound time had carved into them, and the quiet warmth of resilience. They did not know it then, but that small performance held more truth than any stage they had ever stood upon. When the music ended, the store fell silent for a moment. Then gentle applause spread through the room. "This is the best Christmas gift," someone whispered. There were no grand lights, no spotlight, no roaring crowd, but in the eyes of their co-workers there was something real. In early January 1969, the supermarket doors opened as usual, but the register stood empty. For 8 years, the sisters had never missed a single day of work. "At least they're just running late," someone said at first. But when they did not appear the next day either, the manager and a co-worker walked anxiously to their small home beside the church. They knocked several times. No answer. When they gently pushed the door open, cold air drifted out. The room was still. The heat had long gone out. On the bed, they lay side by side, Daisy and Violet. Their faces were calm, like travelers who had finally completed a long journey. They never changed the world with their music, but because of that music, they were able to live in the world as human beings. They were no longer monsters, no longer spectacles. They remained simply two women who shared a life. And perhaps the bluebird they had searched for all along was never waiting under bright stage lights, but quietly singing within a small, peaceful, ordinary life. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.